You pass through the entrance of the university. This is not the first time and won't be the last. The monotony of coming and going blends into an endless repetition of working and sleeping. Within the studio, everyone seems confined to their small working spaces. You are not usually the person who's behind, but you are. You stare at your table for several minutes. You're feeling surreptitious. If you leave the studio now, you'll be one of the first. You see the scalpel marks in your desk, an archaeological monument to the challenging work from the past years. You imagine your desk as an augmented landscape. You crawl across the palimpsest of scratches and scum on the table.
Please crawl across the desk and press your hand against the scratches.
You haven't made any models this year. Jenny has. She has 5 around her desk. You're at a crucial juncture. It's 12 AM and you have reviews tomorrow, with little to show. The coffee that was keeping you awake is beginning to wear off. You begin to question what you've done today except eat expensive microwave meals.
Please peer into the computer screen.
You keep imagining your 3D model through the screen. You try to spatialise your work, staring at the plain white rectangular shapes in an act of desperation. You ask yourself why you designed your SketchUp as you scavenge your brain for fragments of initiative. You enter the screen in a semi-docile state. There's no way you'll be able to contextualise your model for the crit tomorrow. You can imagine the humiliation. Before you know it, primary's here. You're feeling more confident than last month. Your installation aimed to harness the qualities of the unheimlich to transform the heimlich within the surrounding environment of All Saints Church. You used a photosphere to map the physical space of the church and superimposed images, videos and effects within the VR for the installation. The space mirrors in an uncanny transition.
Please sit on the black chair in front of you.
You sit in the chair, experiencing the virtual world that you created. You realise that the installation induces a vulnerable and childlike state, much like your early explorations of Gulliver's travels. You hear voices around the church. You are being manipulated, much like Gulliver in the lands that he visits. You're feeling happy that VR was successful in its instrument to intensify space. Your ego is elevated. Maybe your work's not that bad after all.
Please remain seated and be aware of the moving elements around you.
You were in the VR room. You knew that the primer influenced you to continue experimenting with physical parameters of space through the virtual. You realise that you need to learn Unity and Blender, programs that I primarily use for animation and game engines. You've been sequestering here for a while now. You feel a creepy anxiety about your colleagues' work. What if they've done a lot? What if your time here is wasted? You can't help but feel isolated and alone.
Please stand up and the chair will be removed from under you.
You have pinned up. You stroll down the corridor to compose yourself. You know that your work isn't there yet. You begin to read your notes frantically. Nothing enters the brain pan. You keep imagining other people's work and comparing it to your own. This isn't a healthy obsession. You're waiting on the tutors. You look at your drawings to gather some final confidence.
That hallway, section through there, but then not pull it back, just like hide on the roof. That bit covered.
Please look at the drawings displayed on the wall.
That say about the roof thing.
Oh, but that was I've done that one. And then so smash into the start that was.
That's cutting away though. That's cutting away from the roof, right?
No, it's what we do is like you set section up. You've got a section going through, and then I'm just the roof, and then drawing the program. So you start.
Please remain standing and look around for moving elements.
The tutors arrive, taking their seats. They have blank expressions plastered over their faces. You take a long pause. The tutors look upset. Your environment shifts. The walls begin to creep in on you, slowly crushing your self-belief. Objects in the room begin to dance across the crit space. You feel shattered and fragmented, disassociated with your environment. The space is no longer your friend. You try to look at the board to spark some words of insight, but your ego is slowly shrinking. crit space begins to grow, and the drawings become smaller. You feel like you're sinking, slipping away. You see the bent nails propping up an already shoddy drawing. It isn't straight. Fear and frustration rush around your body as you notice each small pin piercing your work. The fragmented self is ever more distanced.
Feel free to carefully touch the 3 crit nails in your environment.
No, it's what we do is like you set section up. You've got a section going through, and then I'm just plotting the route, and then drawing the program. That bit cut down, how did you do that?
So you've got that say about the root.
Oh, but that one, I've done that one.
You got another one?
I've done that one.
That one's
Yeah, I've done that one and that one.
The tutors stop you and ask you why you haven't considered yourself in this project. Gulliver is about becoming. It is about Swift using scale as a mediator to highlight physical and moral implications. Gulliver experiences psychical moments of separation, distance, control, reflection and identity. Why don't you use the school to act out your experience? You've already been using the school to test out physical parameters of space. It makes perfect sense that the worlds that Gulliver visits represent the school of architecture and its cultic environments. You begin to walk up the crit board and see your project for the first time. The fragmented, tormented self has become the new architectural self. Your morale is restored. You realise the limitations that students go through in architectural education. The struggled student forever searching for the finished project. The crit should not be a finished result where one must defend their title. You realise that change is vital to breed new, better architecture.
Please look at the drawings displayed on the wall.
The project takes reference from Swift's methods of spatial modifications. He uses methods of scale to highlight moments and manipulation to intensify psychological implications. Gulliver represents the gullible child. In this project, the critic becomes a student. There is a shift of power relations.
Simulation ended. Please take off the VR equipment.